Welcome back to Tales from the PowerAge. How you doing, guys?
Hey, everybody.
We're good. Okay, well, tonight we are talking 1985. So really looking forward to that. What happened in 1985? Not a lot. So we're going to fill that up with some of the best records that we could think of from 1985. Now, the rules of the game are no live albums, no compilations, just albums that were recorded and released. Well, they might not have been recorded, actually, but they were released in 1985. So let's go on to our first three, please. So this might take a while, by the way. I'll hand over to Gav.
Look, I'll try and be quick. This is anyone that knows me or has watched a few of these will know that these are dear to my heart and a few other people on the pod. So, and this is the kind of the ultimate album of that era for this band. So we're looking at Magnum on A Storyteller's Night. If put it in context, we'd seen Magnum a couple of times before 85, namely 84. They were in a bit of disarray. They didn't have a record contract. They kind of pretended to split up to get out of a record contract. And so we were hungry for any good stuff coming out from these boys. And this came out, which is the single from the album, Just Like an Arrow. And that came out in the April, I think. And then the album came out in the May. And the album was awesome. It was, I mean, obviously the cover speaks for itself, a Rodney Matthews classic, but never has an album and the atmosphere of the music worked so closely together and been so perfect. There's a complete vibe going through the album that completely fits what you look at when you listen to the album. So, you know, there's some absolute bangers on this. How Far Jerusalem, Just Like an Arrow, On a Storyteller's Night. It goes on and on. I love every song on this album. I've got it multiple times, and I'll show you a couple in a bit. It's the first time they're on an indie label called FM, who were a local label to them in Wolverhampton. But interestingly, in the rest of the world, they'd already signed with Polydor, a major label. It's Polydor Germany. So in the UK, it looked like that, what you can see there. But in Europe, it looked like that. It had a border around it and all kind of weird stuff. The wrong line up on the back because it's got Mickey Barker on it because he was the touring drummer. And yeah, completely blooming brilliant. Obviously, this set them on a road to stardom with Polydor, giving them the full backing into Vigilante, into Wings of Heaven. We saw them 4 times in 85, believe it or not. And also worth mentioning for generally for the 85 context of what rock was doing, we had a rock show on Channel 4 on main TV called ECT, which we have mentioned before. But a lot of the bands that we talk about today, a lot of the, I guess, the slightly smaller bands, were actually on TV on a Friday night that you could come home and tune in and watch. So that includes Magnum, Heavy Pettin, Mama's Boys, Tobruk, Robin George, Motorhead. You know, and that was absolutely fantastic for us, video-starved youths at the time. And we were sort of 15-ish at this moment in time. So yeah, that's Magnum for me. Massive vote of confidence. What about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely love this album. Superb. Obviously, you got me into these boys, and I'd like you say, we've seen them, I don't know, 2 or 3 times in '84, and yeah, we were desperate for new stuff, and this kicked ass big time. Absolutely brilliant album.
See, at the time we were on Gav's coattails because he would wax lyrical about these. He wrote, he constantly was in contact with the fan club, so to speak, and yeah. he was all about Magnum. We went to see him at Town Hall in Dunstable, and in St Albans, if you remember. And this was the big record, wasn't it? It's the one that made it. For me, it's a little bit too ballady, but Just Like an Arrow as an actual single was immense. It was such a great.
Remember purchasing Just Like an Arrow while we were in Paynton on a field trip.
Yeah, and it had such a really great vibe, didn't it? Really set it up well for the new record.
Yeah.
And when we do killer singles of the 80s, I think that'll figure really well. That'll play really well out, I think.
Because it had different versions as well. The album versions were different to this. It was.
I just remember the single version being a dreadful ending. It sort of faded out, but it was the quickest fade out you've ever heard in your entire life.
It was really odd that they record it twice, and I think they recorded at the same studio as well, at the Abattoir, which was the UB40 studio that we've mentioned before as well.
Yeah.
every vegan's favourite. But yeah, it was great to see them back, you know, and because we'd seen them live so many times, we really felt like they were our mates and we're rooting for them, and to come back with such a classic album was brilliant.
Absolutely love the nod to the previous two albums in the pictures, either side of the logo there. So superb.
Okay, brilliant. Well done, Gav. And that signed copy, has that got some stains on the back of it?
Well, funny you should mention that. Yeah, this is a lovely silver pen signed copy that young Dill gave to me, and the back was I don't know if you can pick it up there, but there's some stains from another rock star.
Yeah, so that was James from Tiger Tales fame was staying over at my place in Birmingham for an evening, and he had an accident with a Jack Daniels and Coke, which ended up over the back of that album, which I'd been listening to that afternoon. So there you go. Bit of start in there. Excellent.
What a dude.
And he came from our village we went to school in, so that's the connection there as well.
A bit older than us. Not that much though. Right, if we can go on to the next one.
Yeah, next up, Heavy Pettin. Classic band. Saw them supporting Kiss way back in '83. Dill's got them there in front of him. So this album, Rock Ain't Dead, is kind of aiming for the American market to a degree with the production. Sounds a bit like the Pyromania kind of production style, but there's some banging tracks on this. Also, they were on ECT in '85, and they did the two best songs on the album, Rock Ain't Dead and Soul Survivor. And we saw them support Magnum a couple of years later in '87 as well, and met them. And subsequently, we now interviewed twice Gary Moat, who's the drummer of Heavy Pettin, but now the singer and songwriter, as he was the songwriter with Heavy Pettin. His new band's Burnt Out Wreck. So I'll put some links to those interviews. Yeah, we love this band. We love Burnt Out Wreck. So what about you boys?
Yeah, I got both of the first two albums. This one, I'm just showing this one, obviously. Yeah, really good. I actually like this album. You're right. I mean, it does sound a bit dated in parts. I think, if we're honest, you've got 80s feel to it, but there's some great songs on there. Rock Ain't Dead's a really strong opener for an album. Really great. Throne and Party, Lost in Love, North Winds. I think China Boy, the first three in particular, with Soul Survivor, which I think you mentioned, they're really good, solid tracks. Should have been bigger.
Completely.
Supporting this album. So again, if you see it in a record fair, check it out, try and get it.
Absolutely.
That was the thing though with the ECT show. There were a lot of bands that we picked up on. Some bands picked their best songs, and they, like Heavy Pettin did, I thought were really good, and they made a lot of friends. There were some bands that didn't pick the right songs, or whose sound wasn't good and had a reverse effect. These are one of the ones that it worked well for. And this is I think it's a really good album as well. It's a really good record, and great drumming. Like Gary. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Next one, Gav.
Next one, another one dear to my heart, as all of you would know. So this one's Marillion, Misplaced Childhood. I guess more commercial outwardly, because it had a bunch of hits, had 3 big hit singles, including the first one, which is Kaylee. But it's actually quite deep as well in places, especially side 2. And I absolutely love this album. They actually got to number 2 with Kaylee, kept off number 1 spot by a charity record. I don't know if you boys remember this. It was called "You Never Walk Alone," and it was for the Bradford City disaster.
Oh, I do remember that. 1985.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Gav? I know this is
Valley Parade burnt down because it was made of wood.
Well, funny enough, I think we played Barnsley that day, beating 4-0, and I came up my auntie's house, used to be right outside the ground, and it was on the TV. Couldn't believe it. It was shocking. Yeah. So that I guess it's a good thing that if you're going to be kept off number 1 by anything, that's all right. Yeah.
So yeah, I've got the picture disc, I've got the other stuff as well. So that was the big one. That was the first single, and that was before the album came out, which is Kaylee. And then there was Lavender, which was kind of a bit more soppy. And then Heart of Lothian was the third one.
That was great.
Absolutely great tracks. Me and Jam went the following February to see him at Hammy. We're in the circle, weren't we?
Yeah.
When they played the whole album. I mean, they had the thing where they'd come on and say, this is going to be our last song. And you think, oh, what a minute, you've only done 40 minutes. And then they do the whole bloody album. So yeah, it was brilliant. Very quiet, as I recall, but still brilliant. So anyway, yeah, that's me. That's my Marillion. Any other comments, boys?
You mentioned just on the gig, as you say, my notes here is the quiet. I was on your coattails of Marillion, and this record came out and it was everywhere. It was one of those records. It was everywhere. Everyone, most people will have this and they have a CD of it because it's that time CDs are coming out. So most people have this on CD, and it is brilliant. It is commercial, so it isn't your script or Fugazi. It is commercial, but it's superb. It's just superb. And when you actually properly listen to the lyrics and the musicianship, and it is outstanding. And it gets really emotional when you're listening through, especially side 2. I was talking to Gav earlier. So as you get to side 2, and the uplift as you come towards the end of the record is noticeable. And if you don't know this, then you should listen to it, because it's a really worthy record, really, really good. And as Gav said, we went along Hameo. It was the quietest show I've ever been to in my whole life. Didn't matter because it was brilliant. But it takes you back to when Fish was talking about, we were saying on a pod the other day, when Fish was talking about the next record after Fugazi, didn't he say that you're going to love the next record? There's 2 songs on it.
Side 1,
Side 2. Yeah. It's like, and then when it came out, it's like, oh, it's actually, it is. It's super.
Yeah, they all merge into each other on this one, don't
they? That was they considered that to be their kind of natural progression, really, to have a full prog experience. But within that, the record company obviously died when they heard it was going to be just one full program. But then they're out of nowhere, they pulled 3 hit singles. Incredible.
Yeah, it didn't resonate with me as much as the previous album. I do like it, but I don't think they did themselves any favors with this, to be honest. Fugazi is a much better record, in my opinion. Controversial, I know, but
very.
It was a bit too. It was a bit too.
It was commercial.
Maybe no, it wasn't lame, but yeah, I just didn't like it as much as the previous album. That's all I can say, really.
Well, they kind of went a bit darker with the next album as well, so
yeah,
we'll obviously come to that in future years, but that's kind of the perfect blend for me.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Gav. So that's your trio as we continue into the Dirty Dozen. Over to Jam.
Thank you. What a cover. Hello. So yeah,
one
Mama's
of your favourites.
It is. Mama's Boys, Power and Passion. I heard Don't Tell Mama, which is like a lead single off of this record, on Tommy Vance, Friday Rock Show. And I happened, there'll be a certain people on here of a certain age that will have been doing what I done, and you'd tape certain bits of Friday Rock Show so that you could then, if they played me awesome songs, you could just then keep me playing them. And I happened to be taping when they played Mama's Boys, Don't Tell Mama. So I then played that to death. It blew me away. I loved it. So then I bought the record, and it came with a free 12-inch single. It had a brilliant cover. We're 16 years of age, don't forget. Look at that.
It was picture disc as well.
You were.
Yeah, there were 2. There was one that came with a poster and one that came with a picture disc.
Yeah, but with the value for money, I'm picking that up from Our Price Records or wherever, and you get that as well. And it's got an interview on one side, and it's got a great additional track on the other. So just perfect value for money. The music was immense. It even had a better version of Needle in the Groove, which is a great track from an earlier record. But it was recorded in a much better way, and that's a great track. Mama's Boys, they were live. They were the dog's bollocks. Basically, they were awesome live. And what wasn't to like? Now, I was I was really massively into this band. What do you boys think?
Yeah,
I same as you. I got the album with the picture disc as well. One of the ones that unfortunately I no longer own. I don't know where that had, no one knows where that's gone. But yeah,
Lost in the Great.
Really like this. Got the massively superb Professor 2 on this album, the instrumental, which is amazing. Really shows off the playing of Pat McManus, which is it's just great. Loved it.
And we kind of obsessed over the ECT appearance, didn't we?
Oh yeah, the Needle in the Groove. That's just immense.
Because there were just 3 of them, and that's all you needed. Obviously, we've mentioned before in other pods that they added some keyboards and a big old production on this album, which is great and it has its place. But to hear just the 3 of them being, this is completely clean guitar and simple bass underneath and simple drums, still sounding brilliant. It was
that guitar lick of in the groove, the guitar lick and the way it was so good.
The capo, the capo, didn't he, playing it?
Yeah, I think you can only get away with that, in my opinion, if you've got a brilliant vocal, great vocal line, and great sound. The bass was so steady. Everything about with a 3-piece. Gav's in, well.
If you never listen to another Mama's Boys song, just search out the ECT version of Needle in the Groove. It's one of the best tracks you'll ever hear live. It's absolutely fantastic.
Having said that, they then played Power and Passion, which was the opposite. What is Black Flying V out? Yeah, so the best of both worlds. But yeah, really great, strong record.
Excellent. Yep. I agree with everything you said about Needle in the Groove. What a brilliant tune. And that sounds so good on vinyl. Stick that on. Oh, it's great. You'll be tapping your foot with the best of them for that one. So thanks, Jammo. Next one.
I love it when we do this.
Slightly different.
Anthrax, what a cover. Spreading the disease. So the first album with Joey Belladonna on vocals. I love this record. When you get the variety that we've got, I know this happened in the 84. You get the variety. You've got Misplaced Childhood we just had. We've had Magnum. Now we've got Anthrax. The single from the album, Madhouse. I just love that track. I love that tune. One of my favourite memories is my 18th birthday, which is a couple of years after this. But my 18th birthday, I only played a certain amount of proper metal tracks because all of my old rellies were there. You know, the people that were going to bring along and bring a check for my birthday. One of the 5 tracks that I got played.
Check.
Yeah.
What's a check, Jammo?
Exactly, it's something you get when you're 18 and that you waste at the club. And one of the tracks I selected was Madhouse, and I remember we went mad because it's one of those songs. I remember a certain person who had a crutch at the time. Did you at my 18th birthday, Dill? Did you have a broken leg or?
Yeah, I was on the front. I went to Motorhead front row, but that's another story.
But anyway, he couldn't keep his crutch much because we needed to use that for the decent air guitar. But yeah, Madhouse was always a favourite. It was a massive track for us as well as youth growing up. But this record added AIR, Medusa, were 2 of my very favourite metal tracks. And this just had such a metal vibe.
Yeah.
I just loved it. And it was a precursor to Among, which we'll come on to, I'm sure, on another show very soon. But this, for me, is a really, really strong record. What are your boys' reminiscences of this?
Yeah, it's just pure metal. I remember Lone Justice because it starts off with the bass and drums, doesn't it? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody brilliant. And then I think about this time I was thinking about or trying to start double bass drumming, and then Gung Ho comes on. I might as well take the drum back. There's no point. It's just so fast.
Yeah.
So amazing. It still is today. It still sounds brilliant today, and so it still sounds really fast. But yeah, I loved it. I loved everything about them. They were just starting to get into the kind of skatery, look as well for the Among the Living later on, and yeah, it really caught us by storm, didn't it? The whole Anthrax thing.
It's a brilliant start to the album. You can't beat AIR as an opening track to a record. It just kicks you in the balls and doesn't stop. You mentioned Armed and Dangerous as well on this record, absolutely fantastic. But I'll go along with Jammo because Medusa is probably my favourite Anthrax song of all time.
Such a vibe.
Just brilliant.
Yeah, it's great riffing.
It's a great album. I love Gung Ho as well. I love the start and finish. So you've got AIR and then Gung Ho to finish off. Great fun. I bought my copy in Shades Records. So another one thanks to that beautiful shop that used to be, was it St Anne's Court, Cav?
Yeah, St Anne's Court.
So yeah, amazing shop, amazing album. And we were lucky enough to see them a couple of years after this release, I think.
Did you know that was opposite Trident Studios, St Anne's Court? The bit that goes downstairs. The studio was opposite, and Trident recorded everybody, but especially Queen.
Yeah.
Queen to do recording overnight because they couldn't afford the day rate, and their managers were associated with the studio. So just in that little alleyway,
I know
Bowie, Queen, Shades. So
I didn't know that at the time when I was.
No, nor did I.
Wandering down the stairs into Shades Records with the pennies earned from my paper round. But there you go, good stuff. Happy days. Okay, good. Next one.
Bring us full circle. Saxon, Innocence is No Excuse. So bearing in mind we're the mid-80s, this record, when you look at the tracks on this record, I think it's got the most cliche titles of any record ever. I don't know if you've got that. Could you just read a few of the record? Just read the tracks out, Gav. I haven't written them all down.
Rock and Roll Gypsy, Gonna Shout, Everybody Up, Raise Some Hell, Give It Everything You Got.
Devil Ride Out. Every song is a cliche. Now, this was almost them coming back. For me, this is really quite a strong record. They've just got lots of decent rock tracks. The standouts for me, Back on the Streets, that was the pop track. That was a real boppy commercial type. So yeah, and it had the club mix, it had like a club edit on the 12-inch, which I loved at the time. And it had all the model that was used was just brilliant, very popular with the metal contingent. Loads of great shots of her. So great idea. But the whole vibe of this, Back on the Streets, Broken Heroes, really good song. And for me, it was the overall vibe. We were of an age now. We saw them on this tour. We got to see them at Oxford and at Hammersmith. And just overall, I bought a T-shirt, I had the record, I had the 12-inch, I had the 7-inch. Everything about it was just the vibe. And when I listen to this, it just takes me back to 16-year-old me. Didn't give a fuck about really anything except my metal and my mates and having a really great time. So when I can feel it when I listen to this. This is one of those records. If someone look at this, go, oh, it's not one of their greatest. No, it isn't. But it's really good, and it feels really good when you listen to it.
Yeah, that's what this is all about, taking you back to the PowerAge.
Yeah, that's the thing with this one, especially when you put some of the tracks, they're not their best tracks, but they're really good.
This is the first time I'd seen Saxon live on this tour, and they were absolutely immense. We were on the front row at Oxford. Yeah, brilliant. Loved it. And yeah, probably only got into it because of the cover. Because I'd never been a Saxon. I hadn't really been a Saxon fan up until this record.
He likes apples,
which is bizarre. Yeah, I like apples. That's right. Yeah. What else can you say?
The Granny Smith fan.
Yeah. Or Golden Delicious.
Golden Delicious. It's Golden Delicious, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So that's Saxon. I was there as well. Did they? Can you remind me? Did they have the Eagle on this tour?
Yeah.
I remember going, but did they dumped it at Crusader? I can't remember if they.
I think they've always had it, haven't they?
Not always.
I'm not. Maybe not. Maybe tell us in the comments.
Comment below, yeah.
I can't remember
they did. I can't nail my flat. I can't nail it on this one. I think they did.
I think they did.
Yeah. And image-wise, they were just starting to change a bit on this album, weren't they? Yeah. So they were starting to get influenced by a couple of the bands, I think, that I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes. So they've been touring America a bit. I know certainly Gary had talked to us about touring with Saxon in the States at the time. In '85 when they were pushing Rock and Dead, so they were probably being influenced by that whole American vibe at the time, and maybe going away a little bit from their Barnsley roots.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is an interesting question here, because they were probably at one of their peaks, weren't they? In terms of the members, the musicianship, how road worthy they were. Yeah, it wasn't one of their best albums, arguably, but I think one of the guys in the group on YouTube suggested this as a possible thing in the future, possible theme in the future, to have bands at their peak. And this probably was them live.
Yeah,
but not necessarily. You couldn't say album tour,
but not creatively. You're right.
Say tour. Yeah, that's an interesting subject.
I remember them being incredibly loud on this tour.
Yeah,
they were so loud.
That's true. They were.
They always are.
Where they differed too. There's a lot of talk about Iron Maiden, Saxon. I was reading Biff the other day was talking about how fantastic Iron Maiden are and the difference between them and Saxon. But this is the difference. Saxon had a good record, but they weren't releasing like this. And they weren't doing their best work ever. Whereas Maiden kind of were. It was next. I mean, they were moving up levels.
But I think Biff said this, didn't he? It comes to management.
Yeah.
Maiden didn't have to worry about anything other than doing the best record they could, because they had all the backing of the record company and the management. Whereas Saxon were kind of a bit more susceptible to influence, I think, of record companies and stuff like that. And Maiden wouldn't have stood for that.
And reading between the lines, Saxon are in there with, I think, EMI. I'm rubbish, all that sort of stuff. This one, right? Back on the Streets. Let's get a song that we can get out there. We do a 12-inch and do this and do that. I could never imagine that any sort of conversation with Iron Maiden, Steve Harris around. Right, no, this is
exactly. Yeah,
I've got the record. Here it is. This looks like this. You can't.
And rock fans generally appreciate that sod you attitude. That's what appeals to us. The whole genre comes out of rebellion, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, that's Saxon, and thanks to Julian for the suggestions. And yeah, we are going to look at that in terms of bands at their peak. So look out.
Yeah, good suggestion.
It's a really good idea. Okay, so my first offering, slightly knackered state of album is Ratt. Arguably their best album. I think you've got some brilliant tracks on there. You're in Love, Lay It Down. The video to Lay It Down as well, of course, was a real MTV classic, as was You're in Love. And when you look at You're in Love, they look massive in the States at the time. So I don't know, they were touring with probably Motley Crue at the time, but the crowds were enormous and it looked absolutely fantastic. We were lucky enough to get to see Ratt a few times, actually, in the 80s. They supported Ozzy Osbourne. I think we saw them at Hammersmith Odeon. We saw them again in Germany, Gav, I think, at Monsters of Rock.
Yeah.
And then I saw them again at the Hummingbird at the end of the 80s. It might even be 1990, but I think it was 89. I actually got Robbie Crosby's pick as well, which I'm not going to show you now, but it's packed away somewhere. So, look, really great album. Some brilliant videos from the 3 singles that were released that were on MTV all the time. And if you're talking about nice covers, this fits that perfectly. I think, arguably, though, when you look at the band at the time, when you look at the other side, they look really cool, didn't they? So I'm not saying the other bands that we mentioned didn't, but they look great. So any other thoughts on Ratt?
You're in Love had one of the greatest guitar sounds I've ever heard in my life. Naz played it. One of our other friends, Naz, he had this album, and he played it constantly while I was around his house. And the beginning guitar sound for You're in Love is absolutely out of this world. It's brilliant.
I really love this record. I think it's brilliant. And You're in Love's one of my favourite things. I'm not very good at the guitar, but I love playing that because it sounds classic and it's so metal and it's so easy. But that Lay It Down was a massive single for me. I absolutely adored that single. I bought the 7-inch single and played it to bits.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Okay, so that's Ratt. The next one, a band close to my heart, is of course AC/DC, and this is this was an interesting, and we've covered this on another pod. So please go back and we'll give you all our views and detail about this one. But this was the second one that I bought that came out on the day of purchase, on the day of release, I should say. It's an interesting production, which we've gone into in quite a bit of detail. Brian sounds like he's a completely different place to the rest of the band when it was recorded. Simon Wright's first album with the band as well. Maybe the production lets it down a bit. And I guess I've been a little bit influenced by that. It's not one that I put on all the time. My go-to is always PowerAge, Let There Be Rock, maybe Highway to Hell, Flick of the Switch for those about to rock. But do you know what? And Back in Black, of course. But if you play this, actually some really strong songs on here. It's a really good album. And I remember getting it and playing Fly on the Wall to death. I absolutely loved it. It's a great riff. And then you've got Shake Your Foundations, etc. Now, they released a couple of them singles alongside it. So there was Danger, there's the nice poster pack, which is quite cool. It's also available on 12-inch as well, which I've got down there, which I won't bother showing you. There was a special edition for Shake Your Foundations with a calendar, which was quite cool. That opens up. There's the 12 inches. There's the Shake Your Foundations 12-inch with the video, which we've shown before. And there's the 12-inch for Danger, which is pretty cool with the discography on the back. And then, of course, you've also got a nice little Japanese promo, which is cool. I wish they did that like that over here. It looks brilliant. Couple of other standout tracks. Sink the Pink. Got no idea what that's about, but really
Me either.
Like that.
Pretty sure it's snooker, yeah.
That's snooker, yeah.
Yeah, snooker, yeah. Snooker loopy. So any other thoughts on Fly on the Wall, guys?
Got to be another contender for brilliant live lineup as well, surely.
It's amazing, wasn't it? So we went to see them in January. And it went
fantastic.
Yeah. I got it when it came out as well, and I wasn't disappointed in it at all at the time. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic album. We've played it recently, and we've done some other stuff on DC. The guitars on this album are the heaviest I think DC have ever had. The production, just the guitars sound immense. The Brian thing is, like you say, he sounds like he's in a Portaloo somewhere. Yeah, but yeah, you can listen to this album. There's not really a bad song on it, and it's fantastic.
My two Pennyworth should have got me in before. Average at best. I think it's an average record, which I guess is that because of DC's record. Just to say, as far as on the back of that 12-inch, who doesn't love the discography of a band on the back of a record?
Yeah,
I freaking love it. So you can see all their records. But yeah, as far as this one's concerned, I wish I could listen to Shape Your Foundations without hearing what I watch on the video. It's so annoying. It just into my brain because the video came out for this and we didn't have many videos, did we?
Yeah.
And we did talk about this on our Fly on the Wall
pod. Yeah. And
it still, if I put this record on, I can hear all the background noise in the video just by listening to the record. So that's unremovable from my mind. But yeah, it's an average record. It's not genius DC in my book. But I do like the track Fly on the Wall, and the fact that opened up the tour, didn't it? The actual Fly on the Wall was the first track.
Yeah.
But that's really good. As I think we were saying, never to be seen again, really, which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Weird.
Okay, cool. That's AC/DC Fly on the Wall. My third offering is another American band who supported AC/DC on the Blow Up Your Video tour. So I actually got to see these guys 4 times in the end, but that was on a different album.
That's probably why you're into them so much.
Yeah, I love it. I think this is great. And again, maybe that's the look Saxon were trying to get to. They look sharp, didn't they, 1985? And this was a real breakthrough album for these guys in the States. George Lynch, guitar, absolutely phenomenal. What a player. Some great songs on here as well. This was released in, I think it was at the back end of 85, November 85. I think there were 3 singles released on this in total. But for me, a couple of tracks that stand out. Hunter's brilliant track. In My Dreams, It's Not Love. Another one of the singles, Lightning Strikes. And of course, Unchain the Night, which is probably one of their classic songs. So a couple of other notable individuals. Don Dokken, of course, whose voice was amazing in this era. And Jeff Pilson on bass, who went on to play in Foreigner. So, really, really good stuff. So, great album and one that you don't normally see about that often. So, if you can get a hold of it. If you see it in a record fair, buy it. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on that album, guys?
I didn't get into Dokken in the 80s, but Dill turned me onto him quite recently. And of the 4 or 5 albums I've bought, this is probably my favourite. To be honest, it's really good, and I wish I had got into them back then. I really do.
I was just going to say, just on Jeff Pilson, who later joined Foreigner, some of the arrangements he's done of some of the older Foreigner songs are incredible. So there's a brilliant acoustic set from Germany from 2015, I think it is, and I played it to these guys. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, and he's done some of those rearrangements. I mean, he's super, super talented, unbelievable, and it's just really great to see musicians that were still big and massive in the 80s still doing and getting involved in great music still today. So yeah, really great to see. Sorry, Jammo.
No, I didn't want to make it all about Saxon, but you did mention, is this the look that Saxon were going for? And I'm sorry, I couldn't stop myself from the picture. Dobby Dawson, done up as perhaps the guy on there with the big hair. That's perhaps why Saxon didn't make it in the direction that they were being pushed. I might be wrong, but I don't think his leather jacket and leather jeans fitted. Hey ho.
Saxon have got their place and they've been brilliant. We're great lovers and fans of Saxon across. And you know the interesting thing, I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about classic eras of Saxons, they're one of the few bands of, was their classic era early 80s or is it now? So that's something we'll get to at a later time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good thought, I think. So let's get on to the next trio, the Ménage à Trois. So Gappy.
Yeah, so I've come out of left field with a bit of Accept here. We haven't mentioned these boys before. This was their 6th album release. I hadn't heard of them before. Balls to the Wall, which is the previous album which came out, and I quite like that. I'd listened to a few of their tracks on Friday Rock Show, but this album my brother got me into. It's absolutely brilliant. I can't fault this album at all. It's got some very, very, very good guitar playing on it. There's a bit of jazz metal in it. It's a very underrated album, in my opinion. Yeah, it's really, really good. Metal Heart, the title track, which opens up the album, it introduced me to pinch harmonics, which most guitar players all know. And if you like pinch harmonics, you'll certainly like this record. There's some classical stuff on there as well, and there's a nice little jazzy type track on side 2. Udo's voice is it takes a bit of getting used to, but I really like it. I listened to this album all the time in 1985. And I thank my brother very much for getting me into it. I think it's fantastic. It's produced by Dieter Dierks, who was, of course, the Teutonic Titans Scorpions producer. Yeah, I just absolutely love it. And I listen to it all the time now, to be honest. I think this is a really, really strong album. Very good.
Okay, cool. Any other comments from anyone else on it?
Not for me.
I'm not sure I've heard a song off of this. To be
I didn't think any of you boys were into these, to be honest. I didn't think there was going to be much to say from you lot, but you should really listen to it. It's really, really good.
If you like,
I'm never going to pass up the opportunity to mention if I've seen anyone at Donington in '84. So I might have caught them. The year.
Becoming a drinking competition, Jam. Everyone's just waiting.
Yeah. Well, you weren't drinking at the time, so you probably did see them.
Yeah. True.
I'll do it for you. Donington '84, Jam.
Brilliant. Well, that's accept. On to the next one.
Oh, here we go. With another German band, of course. This is Helloween's debut album. They'd done a couple of EPs before this, but this is the first album, full-length album they'd done. As a 4-piece, of course, because Kai Hansen, who was the guitar player, was doing the vocal duties on this album. Brilliant cover, absolutely brilliant. Starts off with Ride the Sky, which is probably, well, it's one of Helloween's best ever songs. This is speed metal at its best, and it's the first speed metal band I'd really heard. I mean, Venom was speedy, but this was just unbelievable. And the drumming of Ingo Schwichtenberg on this album is out of this world. Album ends with probably Gav's favourite Helloween track, How Many Tears. Still play it to this day, and it's just so heavy, so heavy. They got another great track on this album, which is Heavy Metal is the Law, which is again, it's another really, really fast track. Yeah, absolutely fantastic, and it got me into speed metal in a big way.
Okay, cool. Any other comments?
Anyone else?
No, I only know it because of later on, and the live album actually, and that tour, playing a song or two off this, and they did a medley, didn't they? In the last tour,
they did, yeah,
songs off this
with Kai doing the singing, it's brilliant.
Yeah, that was
good.
I
actually got this. I don't know if I got it when it came out, but I certainly got it in late '85 or '86, and it blew me away. Yeah, so metal.
Seen them a few times. Brilliant band.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Next one, Gaps.
Yeah, here we go. So Kiss's Asylum. This album is so good. After a fairly lackluster Animalize, which was the previous, when we all saw them on the Animalize tour, and we were all introduced to Bruce Kulick, who's on this album, because Mark St. John couldn't fulfill his duties as lead guitar player on the tour. And I don't think he actually played much on the album either, the Animalize album. If you look at the cover, it's a bit of a throwback to the solo albums of '78 with the colours of the lipstick, with obviously Paul and Gene at the top there with their colours, and Bruce taking Ace's blue and Eric taking Peter's green.
Good point.
A lot of people don't like that album cover. I think it's stunning. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So it's understated, isn't it? And it's really good, really, really good. There's some really, really good songs on this album as well. Trial by Fire is a fantastic song. Love's a Deadly Weapon, another Gene song, is brilliant. And even the single Tears Are Falling, which is really, really good. I'll be surprised if this doesn't make the top 5. I know you boys really like this album as well.
I like some of it. I don't like the massive cheesy bits. But that was their era at that point in time, wasn't it? Starting to get into full cheese mode.
Well, the thing is, you've got Bruce's playing on this album. It just takes the lead guitar playing in Kiss to another level, and it's just really, really good. As I love lead guitar playing, love solos, always have done, and he's absolutely immense on this album.
I didn't like it. Pick it up, animalised, and I thought this is a pile of shit.
Oh dear! Have you listened to it recently, though?
Might be dropping out of the top 5.
I thought it was at the time.
Bugger.
I thought it was at the time. I was disappointed with the cover. I thought it was shocking. And Tears Are Falling was just the opposite of what I would want to listen to at the time.
I think we used to sing "Oh No, Kiss Are Boring" to the lyrics.
They're appalling. I think I might have added into the mix.
But have you listened to it recently?
I have. It's not as bad as I thought it was. That's what I said.
1987.
I thought it's appalling. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but it's not one of their strongest records, and it's not one I would revisit unless I was preparing for a pod.
I disagree. I think it's great. Really do.
That's brilliant. I love that, and I love the fact how much. No, it's brilliant. That's totally cool. But yeah.
Dale, what do you reckon?
Look, it's not my favourite Kiss album. I love Tears Are Falling, though. I mean, that's one of my favourite songs, though, ironically. I think that's great. And they played it live this year and last year when we saw them Gappy. And that's, it was a real treat. So that reminded you of the time, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't mind it now at all.
Yeah.
At the time, I don't know why it really... Being kind of real heavy-duty Kiss fans, it didn't appeal to us at the time.
Maybe it was just that whole image. All Night's actually quite a good party song, isn't it? It's a bit of fun. So
yeah, again,
Real Only's good.
No idea what All Night's about either. It's a strange one, isn't it? Yeah.
Snooker.
But, all right, good. So I think that's the 12. So well done, guys. So let's have a look at the best of the rest. So Gav, if you can just take us through some of those.
Well, there's some blinders here actually. That I know we're going to get some feedback, some positive feedback that we've included them in the best of the rest. Let's be honest. There ain't much wrong with the ZZ Top album. I actually quite like this Afterburner. It's a great album. I think we pretty much. I did have SOD at the time. I think it was.
You certainly did because you taped it for me.
Yeah.
So taped it for me as well.
If you think the Anthrax guys were Spreading the Disease and doing this at the same time, that's a good year. Good day at the office, boys.
And Gav, the critical acclaim of this Stormtroopers of Death album was massive. So in Krang at the time, they were just pushing this constantly. I mean, it's a great album.
It is.
It is. There are some really good things on there, not politically correct by any means now, but the Wasp album's good. Last Command, and then we had a soft spot for this, which is why we included it. Maniacs kind of disappeared without trace, but good Yorkshire band. They supported Magnum, and we really fell in love with them.
We certainly did. They were awesome.
Magnum. And this album is great. Again, a bit of a ropey production, but there's some bangers on this album. It's absolutely brilliant. We've got Rock Is the Word, The Score, Going for Gold, Infatuation.
Infatuation was amazing.
Yeah. I think had our own Britain's own little Eddie Van Halen on guitar. And they were really great. Sadly they did one or two things after this, but this was brilliant. Slayer as well. Obviously they probably going to be featured a lot more in coming years, but Hell Awaits was out the same year, and Aerosmith re-emerging, and again probably going to be included more later in the decade.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of that album, but it's a good album, definitely worth a listen to. And of course then Wasp, The Last Command, which has got some bangers on as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, completely.
So I think there's a couple more on here.
Robin George was kind of associated with Magnum, and in the same, they were swapping members here and there. Keck scoring on the drums on this album. Mark Stanway, from
but
Magnum.
is he really? But is he really?
Is he really what?
On the drums on this album?
No, he's on the cymbals, I think. But no, I mean, we really had high hopes for this album, and then it came out, and our high hopes were a little bit dashed because it was so computerized, and you know, all the kind of soul had been sucked out of it.
But it was good live, and we saw him supporting Uli Roth, though.
We've seen him quite a few times live, and the songs were great, but they were stifled by the production.
Yeah, we mentioned ECT about some bands that really, and he was on ECT, and he was awful. It was. I'm sorry, you can't. We were massive
he was on the same ECT as Venom, by the way.
Yeah, but I had every 7-inch, 12-inch, the record. I had everything. We went to see him support Uli Roth at Hameo, and then he went on the telly, and it wasn't a good day for him.
I got a lot of published in Sounds. Do you remember?
Yes.
Because the reviewer didn't mention Robin George at all, even though his name was on the review. So I wrote in and gave a loads of grief, and got my letter published.
Excellent.
So Brooke were a big one of yours, Jam.
Loved them. Really loved them. That so nearly was in my top 3. They're really, really great. I really liked them. And again, I actually caught them. They were on the Friday Rock Show, and they were on the ECT, and they were fantastic. They blew us all away. They were just brilliant. I literally went out and bought the record.
Bundle of energy, weren't they?
Yeah, great. Really
it's a good album, that. It's good. It sounds dated, but it's a much better album than that Robin George one. Much better. Good tunes on that.
Yeah, they should have gone further.
Yeah.
And Gary Moore, great album, great songs, good era, but didn't quite make the grade for the top 12. Y&T, strange album cover there, but pretty solid album, isn't it, Jam?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. It hit where they wanted to hit. It sold units in the States.
It was a bit more metal-y, wasn't it, than the last one?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But again, they were in a strange place. They were in a strange place, Y&T, but they were big at the time in the States, and it was selling records. So yeah, no, it's good.
They lost their decent logo. I mean, look at that; it's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, that cover is no good. And then Jovi was arguably a bit of a misstep, if only for the album title that no one could say or spell. Yeah. But I mean, I think the record company in the world expected this to be more popular than it was. But it had some good songs on it.
Yeah, it does. In and Out of Love is a great tune and a great video.
And then Dio, I guess, infighting starting to show in the tracks, with this being Vivian Campbell's last album with them. But the tour was great. We went on the tour, didn't we?
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No.
No, that's it, mate.
That's the best of the rest. Only that first 6 are the best of the rest. Could have been in the top 12, I think.
Yeah, they're very strong. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, Gaps, the top 12 classics, anything that you want to add before we go into...
I just think you'll agree. If you just look at that top 12, it's such an eclectic mix of rock music. It's all the way from Magnum and Marillion all the way up to Helloween and Anthrax. It runs the gamut of metal in 1985. And what more can you say? It's really, really good. Really strong 12, I think.
Good international split as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's get to the top 5 with our resident Tommy Vance. Again, he's here, ready for the countdown. So, Jammo, over to you for Tales of the PowerAge top 5.
The official top 5 killer albums of 1985 from Tales of the PowerAge. Do you remember Chalk Hearts Melting on a Playground Wall? We do, and it's from Misplaced Childhood by Marillion, and that kicks us off at number 5. Y-I-O, Shake Your Foundations. It's AC/DC, Fly on the Wall at number 4. They summed it all up with the title for this one. Think title, Power and Passion from Mama's Boys at number 3. In the official top 5 killer albums of 1985 from Tales of the PowerAge. It's a madhouse, or so they claim. It's Anthrax at number 2. Which means... just like an arrow to the very top of this chart. Yes, it's Magnum at number 1 with On a Storyteller's
Awesome. Yeah. Well done, Magnum.
Well deserved.
Absolutely.
Thanks, so there's your top 5.
Thanks, Jam.
Well done, Magnum. Certainly one of the best record covers of all time. It's fantastic, Rodney Matthews. Well, look, there you go. There's the top 5. Please tell us what you think. Some of you might agree. Some of you might think, actually, of the best of the rest, you've got top 5 in that 12. So, thanks, guys. That's been really good. Really enjoyed that. So let's just go. We're going to go to the next slide. If you can please look out for our new live channel. We've got a plethora of videos on there, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. We share videos from the gigs that we've been to. So you've got everything from Kiss, End of the Road, to Dear Matrona, to Chris Barris, to Iron Maiden, to Michael Schenker, Foreigner. If you love a bit of classic rock, Ghost, it's on here. So check it out. And that's also on YouTube. So, as always, you can find us on Facebook on Tales from the PowerAge. You can chat with us on Twitter on TFTPA. You can find us online at www.talesfromthepowerage.com, or you can get some merchandise from Redbubble. And I'd really advise you to do that because it's amazing stuff. So it'd be remiss of me not to say, please give us a sub. Please hit Hell's Bell. Please comment, like, and tell us what your top 5 is. Because I'm guessing some of you will have some real differences of opinion on 1985. So thanks for your time, guys. Cheers. Bye.
Bye, everyone.